All right, everybody, welcome back. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to watch my humble little video and listen to my little astrological opinions. I really appreciate it. Again, my name is Dan Hendricks. Check out my website, dancethecosmos.com. Today, we're going to talk about the Aries Libra axis in astrology. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and pull it up right here. So what we're going to see here is that with Aries and Libra, first and foremost, we're talking about axes here. So that means that both of these signs are opposite each other in the zodiac. So Aries here, well, first let's talk about why these are what makes these two signs similar. So there's two qualities that they both share. And in fact, all of the different axes, whether it's Aries, Libra, Scorpio, Taurus, Gemini, Sagittarius, Leo, Aquarius, Virgo, Pisces, Cancer, Capricorn, they all share the same gender, whether they're masculine or feminine, and they all share the same modality, whether movable, fixed, or dual. So with the Aries-Libra axis, we are talking about two movable and masculine signs. So what does movable and masculine imply? Movable and masculine implies taking action and changing. So there's a certain changeability and a certain amount of action taking. That's what these two signs share in common. Now, what they also happen to share in common is they both happen to share the same guna. There is no other axis in astrology, but if you look at the other five axes, they do not share the same guna. So Aries is a Rajasic sign and Libra is a Rajasic sign. But the thing is they're going to be different in how they are transferring that Rajasic energy. And then you'll see here all the other, it doesn't share any other common theme. So just think about these two signs as movable and masculine. These are the signs that we use really to initiate activity in our life and to initiate the changes and the things that we want to get done and to take action on that. So now what makes these signs different? Well, first and foremost, we'll start talking about Aries. And why first and foremost? Because in the natural order of the zodiac, Aries is the first sign. It's number one. And number one implies a lot of things. Number one implies beginnings, new and taking things to a new level. And then also what we see about Aries, what really separates when we were talking about the first qualities of Aries, is that Aries is a fire sign. Fire sign is related to like the self. It's related to our internal idea kind of who we are. It's our inspiration, what we want to achieve in the world, our drive, our motivation. And it's also really becomes about who we are. And so with Aries being about who we are, because being a fire sign, and being Rajasic, what this really shows with Aries, see Rajas in this context of Aries, Rajas is the energy of self. It's like about I, it's the I-ness. Connecting ourselves to the things that we do, like I need this. I look better in that shirt. Yes, this would work good for me. This works for me. I like this. I don't like that. So, and when you can see, since Aries is related to the self, that with the Rajasic energy of Aries is very much that. It's like I am, and being that's number one. Number one, again, is talking about ourself, about us going forward to it. So a lot of what the Aries energy is, for what you're going to see with this, is that Aries energy is about us being the ones that do things. Because it's like U2 has a song called One is the Loneliest Number. And the reason why one is the loneliest number is because if we're thinking that all we need to do is it's not only, it's very lonely if it's just you. It's what they say is you're lonely at the top, right? And it's funny because also that saying lonely at the top, Aries represents, I put here difficult terrain, but one of the things is like mountainous terrain, like being on a mountain. And Aries is represented by the ram, or if you think of a ram, you can think of like a mountain goat that can just climb up the steepest slope and be at the top of the mountain, and it's lonely at the top. And if you think about it, the sun is exalted in Aries, and the sun is very much can be a planet that is that makes us independent and not needing anybody else. And that is the essence of Aries, is not needing anyone else, that I can do this. I'm the only one that needs to do this. I don't care. And it's also about, like, not only is it about me and me being the doer, and it's also about I don't need anybody else. I can do this on my own. That's kind of the nature of Aries, is being very strong-willed and strongly independent. And then also, if you think about Aries, with the sign of Aries is the ram with the horns. And so what does a ram do? It just charges forward with no regard, a lack of, I mean, it's number one. There's nothing else that they're thinking about. It's all about the number one. And the number one is like the basis of all other numbers. But the number one also has no awareness of the number 2, 3, 4, 5, or whatever. It's just about the number one. And so with Aries, it's all about the self. And I'm not thinking about anything else other than what it is that I want to achieve. And that is the nature of the energy of Aries, is just that. Like, I'm going to get to where it is I need to get to. See, I'm going to get to where I need to get to, and I don't care what happens. I don't care what that means. I don't care what the repercussions, the ramifications of me going out and doing that. And that is the nature of Aries. So if we have an Aries ascendant, that means that our nature is going to be that of a part of our personality, a part of who we are, is going to be just that. It's going to be that energy to be impulsive, that energy to be able to just go and do whatever it is that we want to, regardless of what anybody else says. And now you heard what I just said there. Do what it is that we want to do, regardless of what anybody else says. Now let's talk about Libra, because Libra is what anybody else says. Libra is the opposite of Aries. Libra is about, so we'll see here where he said it's movable masculine. So it's about taking action in the world and what it is that we want to achieve, but it's going to be about working with other people, because Aries is the number 7, and we know that is a 7th sign in the natural order of the zodiac. Then we also know, if you're looking at the 7th house, we're talking about other people. We're talking about partnerships. We're talking about our spouse, right? And if we're going to be in a partnership, whether that's business or that's in marriage, we're not going to be very successful if we're not taking into consideration the other people. Because what Libra is about others. It's about other people. It's about taking things into consideration. Because the image of Libra now is the scales, is really seeing that there's a balance to everything. So people with Libra are the opposite of Aries. So a Libra ascendant on the other, so while you have an Aries ascendant who is going to be someone who's charging forth and not thinking about anybody else, Libra is going to be the exact opposite. Libra is going to be making decisions by, well, what does everybody else say? Listening to other people's opinions, the information, and thinking about, well, let's see, what does society say? What do my friends think? Like, so if you're a Libra ascendant, you're the type of person that is more willing to listen to other people, to weigh the options of, or not necessarily to weigh the options, but to weigh the possible ramifications of what we do, to contemplate the consequences and how our actions will affect other people. And we'll listen to what other people say to initiate our own actions. We'll listen to their opinions. We'll bring them in and bring their opinions and their information that they have to share for us to build what it is that we want to achieve through being a movable and masculine sign. And then the thing about Aries, not only is it the scales, or the thing about Libra, not only is it the scales, it's also like the territory. So while Aries is about difficult terrain, mountainous terrain, and caves and things of that nature, Libra is about the city or the marketplace. So it's all about what's going on around us and taking into consideration everything else that's happening and where do I fit in? Because that's a big part of the scales, is it's like, okay, I know exactly where I fit in. I'm just going to fill my niche and help how I work with other people. So So that's how a Libra ascendant is. It has that natural energy to want to listen to others, to weigh its repercussions amongst whatever else is going on in their environment. Whereas Aries, it's like there's nobody else and I'm just going to be headstrong. But the other thing is since now for this Aries ascendant person, if we think about the ascendant as the sign that's rising, it's like the eastern horizon from where we were born in this, and that is the sign that's coming up. And Libra is the sign that is setting, the sign that is going away. But it also contains the opposite end of that horizon point, which is what the ascendant is. And so Libra, as that setting point, is really like the other end of the horizon of where we're headed. So when we are an Aries person, all other factors equal in the chart. An Aries person is going to be moving towards Libra. So an Aries ascendant is a person that has that energy. It's just innate to them to have that energy to go forward with no repercussions. But what they're here to do is they're really here to learn how they're going to use Libra as that descendant, because they're going to learn how their actions are affecting other people. And they're going to learn how being impulsive, while that is a good part of their nature and a strong quality of their being and who they are, it's not wrong. It's just that where they're going to really find the most growth is when they really start getting into this idea of how does it affect other people? How do my actions fit into the greater community? What can I do to provide by using how can I use my Aries energy, my independent, go forth, forget anybody else's concerns? How can I do that but still provide value to other people? How can I do that without stepping all over everybody else in my life? And that's really how an Aries person is going to be growing. Now, a Libra person is going to be a Libra ascendant with Aries as the descendant, is going to be working in the opposite or in the similar vein, but it's going to be an opposite nature. Whereas for a Libra person to truly grow, because they're always going to want to consider the ramifications, what's the most fulfilling option for everybody involved that's fair, so everybody gets a fair slice of the pie. But where they're really going to be working and where they're going to be heading is in actually learning to do things on their own. You know, to be able to hear, yeah, this person says this person says this, these people say that, this is my place in the community. But you know what? Where they're going to find the most growth is going out on their own and doing things. And taking their own initiative and occasionally just saying, you know what? Forget what everybody else says. That's what I want to do. That'll be good for me. So now that's like the growth pattern for a Libra ascendant, all other factors in the chart being equal, you know, not looking at the planets or anything else, just as a baseline indication. That's kind of the growth pattern. And now if you were to place Rahu and Ketu into the situation, it's very similar. You would look at Ketu as the ascendant and you would look at Rahu as the descendant. So you would say, so for example, for someone with Ketu in Aries is similar to an Aries ascendant. This would be someone who's bringing into this lifetime, they have a past life karma that they have relied on in the past, that they have spent a lot of time developing their own initiation, their own initiative, their own will, their own action, and being impulsive and not needing anybody else. And then with Rahu and Libra, that shows that where they're here this lifetime to really learn is to accept help from other people, to find out how they fit into the society, to find out what it's like to be in a give and take relationship and how to make things equal with other people. Now the difference, so that's very similar to the ascendant growth pattern for an Aries Lagna when we're talking about Ketu and Rahu. Now the difference is that this is because it's involving Ketu and Rahu are cruel planets. And the reason and then we also have to think of them not only as cruel planets, but they are one entity that is stretched between two opposite signs. And so what that shows us is that with Ketu, the more that we rely and try and be, again, all other factors equal here, with Ketu and Aries, the more that we try and rely on ourselves doing things and being the one that initiates this and just not thinking about anyone else, the more that life is going to pull us into Rahu. So if we lean into Ketu, life pulls us into Rahu, whether we like it or not. And this is how the nodes are cruel, because they'll constantly do this to you. It's like you're going to, like you want to lean in the body, well, the head, which is Rahu, is going to constantly pull you out of that. So imagine a work situation where you're working at an office, right? And let's say the boss says, okay, all right, employee A, I want you to do this project here. And you're like, great, I always do these projects. That's my job. I do it. I do better working alone. I don't need anybody else's help. Boss told me to do this. I'm going to do this. Well, what ends up happening is, so it's like, okay, I'm going to do this on my own. Well, what happens is the boss comes in and he's like, oh yeah, and by the way, I need you to work with employee B and employee C on this project also. You know, so here is employee A trying to do this on his own, leaning into his Ketu. And then the situation is constantly taking it into working with other people. And then now flip around the situation, Ketu and Libra is the person that's used to, this is employee A now, usually working with employee B and employee C on something, used to being part of a team, part of a project, listening to their opinions to form what it is that he's doing. You know, he's usually bouncing ideas off somebody else, where all of a sudden it's like, yeah, we always work employee A, B, and C, and I'm just going to lean on what B and C are thinking and what their ideas are. And all of a sudden the boss comes in and says, no, I need you to do this project on your own. These two, employee B and employee C, I need them to go do this other project right now, which is more important. And all of a sudden here you are trying to lean on them and they're gone. And now you have to initiate things on your own. And that's how you can look at the nature of Ketu and Rahu. And you can attach all these qualities of Aries and Libra. But the thing about the Rahu and Ketu factor is you always have to know the houses they're in. So and it's a very, very complicated, intricate situation to defining Rahu and Ketu. But that's how we can understand, because Rahu and Ketu themselves are an opposite axis. And when they're in these signs, they're going to bring this energy, and it's usually at the base energy of what Rahu and Ketu are generating. And then you have all the houses, the planets that they're conjunct, what their lords are doing, what Saturn and Mars are doing, and that's going to give you this huge, greater picture of how it's all going to play out. But it's going to play out in the territories of the opposite signs of Aries and Libra. There's going to be some kind of quality of working by yourself and learning others' help, or by leaning on others' help and learning to work by yourself. There'll be something in that vein with Ketu, Rahu, Aries and Libra, and with Aries and Libra Ascendants and Descendants correspondingly. So anyways, thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and namaste.